The atmosphere inside the arena that night was unlike anything the WWE Universe had experienced in recent memory, an oppressive stillness replacing the usual symphony of cheers, chants, and restless anticipation, the kind of silence so dense you could feel it pressing against your chest, heavy with unspoken dread, and in that silence you could almost imagine hearing the synchronized pounding of thousands of heartbeats belonging to the fans in attendance, each one bracing for something they could not yet name but instinctively knew would be devastating. And then, cutting through the curtain and into that still air, came Triple H, but not the man the world knew as the Game, the King of Kings, the confident, iron-willed architect of NXT and veteran of decades of warfare in the squared circle. No, what emerged was Paul Levesque stripped bare, walking without the swagger that had defined him for years. His shoulders weighed down, his steps measured and deliberate, his usual smirk and sharp-eyed focus replaced by a hollow, haunted expression that immediately told anyone with even the faintest emotional instinct that something was terribly, irreversibly wrong, the weight of it so palpable that even fans at home, watching through television screens, felt that cold pit in their stomachs as though they were in the building themselves. And when he reached the ring and stood there, gripping the microphone not like a tool of performance but as if it were a heavy object pulling him down, he didn't speak for 20 long, aching seconds, his eyes cast downward, his breathing slow but strained, as if he was gathering the courage to say words that, once spoken, could never be taken back. And then, when he finally opened his mouth, his voice cracked in a way that hit the crowd like a gut punch. Rey Mysterio suffered a heart attack, he said, and those 5 words detonated in the arena, drawing gasps so loud they pierced the silence, followed by cries from the front row, people calling out in disbelief, some physically recoiling as if the news itself was a blow, mothers instinctively clutching their children closer, grown men frozen with glassy eyes, and what made it all worse was knowing that this was not a storyline, not a piece of scripted drama. This was not the Game delivering a promo designed to build tension. This was Paul Levesque speaking as a man who had just watched his brother in the business be taken to the hospital fighting for his life, and his hand was visibly trembling as he took a breath, steadying himself enough to tell the crowd that this was not part of the show, not hype for a feud, not a tease for an angle. Rey was in the hospital right now and the situation was bad. The camera cutting to the audience where fear, sadness, and disbelief were etched into every face, and then Triple H's voice softened, carrying a raw, pained sincerity as he told everyone that he was there when Rey was taken in, that he had seen the terror in his family's eyes, a sight that would haunt him for the rest of his life, and he reminded us all that Rey was more than just a WWE superstar. He was a husband, a father, a friend, and an inspiration to generations as the ultimate underdog and the masked hero who had defied every obstacle ever thrown his way, and now he was in the toughest fight of his life, a fight with no guaranteed victory. But as Triple H's voice lingered in sadness, something in his tone shifted, his eyes narrowing, his jaw tightening, and suddenly that grief was joined by an edge of fury because, as he revealed, Rey wasn't even supposed to be in that ring on the night this happened, that he had told Triple H himself and told the officials that he wasn't feeling well, and yet someone had pushed him out there anyway, the crowd erupting into a mix of outrage and confusion, shouts of, "Who?" echoing through the arena, but Triple H, though visibly seething, said he wasn't ready to name names yet. Only that when he discovered who had decided Rey's health was less important than the show, there would be consequences, and he made it clear that it didn't matter whether that person was a producer, a top star, or a corporate executive, they would be finished in WWE the moment the truth came out. And then, before the crowd could even digest that bombshell, the Tron flickered to life, revealing grainy black and white security camera footage from the night in question, showing Rey backstage slumped in a chair, breathing heavily, sweat on his brow, shaking his head at a shadowy figure looming over him, the figure gesturing toward the entrance, Rey shaking his head again, only for the figure to jab a finger toward the curtain in a more aggressive command before walking away, the audience exploding into chaos as Triple H's lips curled in unfiltered rage, demanding they find that person immediately. And behind the scenes, the usually noisy, bustling locker room had turned into a silent, heavy place, the normal banter, music, and occasional bursts of laughter replaced by stillness. Every superstar from rookies to Hall of Famers standing together, faces grim as the reality set in that one of their most beloved brothers was on the brink. But one person missing from that circle was Rey Mysterio, the cameras instead catching him pacing alone in a quiet hallway, his hoodie pulled low, hands shoved deep in the pockets, his skin pale, his eyes red, not from storyline theatrics but from the emotional storm consuming him after months of strained, real-life distance from his father, muttering under his breath about whether this was truly how it would end between them, while elsewhere Triple H emerged from a private call with Rey's doctors, his usual confident stride replaced by a slow, deliberate walk, his eyes carrying something the WWE Universe rarely saw: fear. As he addressed the roster, telling them that Rey was still with us but in critical condition after a massive heart attack, that the doctors were doing all they could but warning there was a real possibility he wouldn't make it through the night, gasps filling the room, some burying their faces in their hands, others frozen in disbelief as Triple H spoke of Rey's lifetime of dedication to the business, to the fans, to the younger generation, and how even the toughest man he'd ever known couldn't win this battle alone. Social media erupting as WWE's official account posted the news, #Pray for Rey trending in 27 countries, fans from all eras of his career posting his greatest moments, from his WCW days to his WrestleMania triumphs, while close friends like Naomi shared tearful videos begging fans to keep Rey in their prayers. But that unity cracked when on SmackDown, Santos Escobar broke kayfabe to say he had told Rey his time was up and maybe now people would see he was right, drawing loud boos, chants of "too far," and a flood of calls for his suspension. And as the following morning's update revealed Rey had been placed on a ventilator, monitored hour by hour, Triple H quietly admitted that Rey had been dealing with chest discomfort for weeks but had hidden it to avoid disrupting storylines or letting down the fans. A selflessness that might have nearly cost him his life, raising furious questions about WWE's medical oversight. Because if a corporate executive had shown those symptoms, they would have been rushed to the hospital immediately. But in wrestling the culture is to push through until your body gives out. And when Dominic finally appeared, stripped of his arrogant on-screen persona, his voice breaking as he admitted he didn't care about storylines or matches, only that he needed his dad to be okay and to come home, the arena shifted from hostility toward him to empathy, fans tearing up as Triple H put an arm around him and promised the best care possible. But then came the cruelest blow, Triple H hinting that Rey might never wrestle again. Not because he wanted to retire but because his body might not allow it, and with that, the silence that followed was no longer just shock, it was grief for a legend whose fight this time was against something no amount of heart, resilience, or lucha spirit could control.